Hello, mates. Can you hear me? Cool. How's everyone enjoying Polkadot Decoded so far? Yeah? Woo! Cool. Well, my presentation is called Traverse the Paraverse, How Talisman is Bringing Multi-Chain to the Masses. So a little bit about myself first. I'm the co-founder of Talisman. We are building a multi-chain, user-friendly multi-chain wallet for Polkadot, DotSama, and the Parachains, which we refer to collectively as the Paraverse. So anytime I say the Paraverse, I really just mean our whole ecosystem. One important sort of bit of housekeeping, I am pseudonymous on the internet. I'm this red guy online. And so if you could please refrain from taking photographs of me, that would be great. You're welcome to take photographs of my talk, but please I'll trust you to crop me out. I trust my community. Before Talisman, I ran a Web3 venture studio, which helped entrepreneurs to build Web3 tech, build out their teams, raise money, and accelerate their business. And I actually started my career as a game designer, so I'm particularly interested in human behavior and how incentives and stories frame our perceptions and frame our behavior. So my talk is in two parts. First, I kind of want to talk a little bit about what I think are some misconceptions around mainstream adoption and how we get there. And then secondly, I'll talk more specifically to how Talisman is bringing Polkadot to the mass market. What are the problems that we're trying to solve? So first, let's get started. First of all, misconceptions around mainstream adoption. Web3 user experience needs to get better. I hear this a lot. Who here agrees with that statement? Yeah? A lot of hands. I think this is a reasonable proposition. I want the tools that I use to be good. I'd like them to be user-friendly, powerful, maybe even enjoyable to use. But there are actually out there in the market a lot of really fantastic Web3 user experiences and applications, and some that you might even call beautiful. I'd like to consider Talisman among them, maybe even some of the things that I've worked on in the past. But the main reason we hear this again and again like a broken record is because of the tricky concepts, the difficult concepts that are necessary for people to wrap their head around in order to leverage Web3 apps, whether it's private keys, seed phrases, block explorers, transactions. These are tricky for people, and they're often very punishing if you don't understand them correctly. And I think we can do a lot to improve them. I mean, everything should be getting better if we put in the work. But I think we can do a better job of packaging them up. We can do a better job of teaching them to people, as well as teaching people why they are important so that they're intrinsically motivated to understand. But some people would go as far as to say that all of the Web3 stuff needs to be abstracted away. And in fact, it all needs to look and feel like we're using Web 2 before we're going to see mass adoption of Web 3 applications. Would anyone agree with those statements? Cool, a couple of people. So, I disagree, and I'm going to try and make a brief argument as to why. And if you're unconvinced at the end, let's have a chat. Maybe we can learn something. So, I present to you the computer keyboard, the QWERTY keyboard specifically. I'm sure you're all familiar with this. I use it every day to leverage the power of computers. I'd like to remind us all of something we may have forgotten, which is this is not a particularly user-friendly or intuitive user interface. This is something that requires rote learning to leverage and memorization. I trained in the use of this tool, and for a very long time, people rejected the idea of leveraging this tool, but the value of computing became so overwhelming that basically everyone's on board now. Everyone uses this tool. And so I would propose that Web3 mass adoption is not actually a complexity problem, but it is in fact an intrinsic motivation problem. And what might be the case is that simply Web3 applications in the market at this stage simply don't provide enough tangible value to the everyday person for them to be motivated to learn these tools. I think we should be really optimistic, though, because things like Polkadot and Parachains are really powerful technologies. We haven't really had good answers for how we build scalable applications for the mass market on EVM. And I believe that with Polkadot and Substrate, we really can build internet-native institutions that people can depend upon and that are going to replace our brick-and-mortar ones. But certainly, I think this is a problem of value and motivation. Especially as a game designer, I know that not only are people motivated to do and to overcome challenges, but they actually find it fun in the right context. So, anyway. part 2, what is Talisman? What are we doing? How are we bringing Polkadot to the mass market? I want to sort of unpack a little bit about what our mission is and what we see our role in the ecosystem as. And then I'll sort of quickfire at the end, go through some of the things that we're actually working on and that we're releasing. So our mission is to enable anybody to master Web3 and to traverse the Paraverse. And so as you can see, our mission is not to make Web3 so convenient as to make it such that anyone can consume a not particularly attractive value proposition. We want to empower people with the tools to be able to do what we do, to become a part of the crypto class, to create DAOs, to do all of the really interesting stuff that we get to be a part of because we're technically competent. And to traverse the Paraverse, this simply means to explore and leverage all of the applications that are in our ecosystem, in DotSama, Polkadot, and the Parachains. When I think about the problem that we are trying to solve, I sort of think about it with this analogy. So, if you think about your email as kind of like it's become this emergent, universal login for Web 2, I think the wallet is kind of like a universal login for Web 3 applications. But building something like a universal login for the multi-chain world of Polkadot this is a new and difficult problem. In fact, wallets are actually having to grow more advanced and develop more powerful abstractions in order for people to leverage the growing scope of Web3 applications. So we can see if we multiply the number of accounts that users have by the assets they have and the networks that they're leveraging, we can get this kind of slightly dumb but useful expression of how much complexity a wallet project like Talisman has to manage in order to how much complexity we have to articulate to our users for them to be able to understand what they're doing. And we can see that this has grown over time, right? So if you used Coinbase in 2017, you might have had a custodial wallet where you have a few different accounts, one in each network, and you have some coins. The ICO boom of 2017 emerged. We started to get early DeFi, NFTs, and suddenly people had multiple accounts with tens of assets on the Ethereum mainnet. And now this sort of ad hoc multi-chain world of Ethereum, you can see that people are using a handful of networks, and they have tens, even hundreds of assets, and so this sort of number is going up. And in building this sort of universal login for the world of Polkadot, for the Paraverse, we have to think about what are the architectural differences of Polkadot, and what is the multi-chain world going to do to the Web3 users' sort of digital footprint. So, doing this little calculation for my own Talisman wallet, it's already sort of upwards of 300. It's a lot higher than what you would see on Zapper or Zerion. And I think this number is going to grow to thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands. This might be an unreasonable proposition for you if you believe that Web3 user experience is the limiting factor in Web3 mass adoption, right? But I would like you to sort of consider how many Web2 services you actually leverage. Certainly, it is a lot more than I ever anticipated that I would leverage. A quick cursory glance of my password manager, I found that I have about 8 different email addresses, and I have about 260 different accounts. And so so what is Talisman doing? What are we doing specifically to deal with this merging multi-chain world and allowing people to traverse the Paraverse? Given that it's going to have these constraints, we can certainly make the assumption that cross-chain and multi-chain transactions, the volume of those transactions is going to grow by orders of magnitude. So we need to do a bunch of things. And I'm going to run through quickfire some of the things that we have accomplished, that we're about to roll out, and that we want to do in the future. So first of all is ledger support. I can confidently say that we have the nicest ledger support out of any sort of wallet in the Polkadot ecosystem. We've worked really hard on this, and we're working actively with the ledger team to improve this as well. I think this is really important. The number one thing that users are concerned with when we speak to them is security. And I'm not certain about the statistics, so don't quote me on it, but I have heard that something like 20% of all DOT is locked up on ledger devices. So we're helping to unlock that DOT and allow it to be leveraged by the Parachains in their applications. Second is EVM support. So as you all know, many parachains have implemented the EVM as a way of being very accommodating to existing blockchain developers and bringing them into their ecosystem. But this has created fragmentation in application architecture. Sometimes I need to use Polkadot.js. Sometimes I need to use MetaMask. Well, now you can just use Talisman. So we have implemented full EVM support in Talisman. We now provide you, H160 addresses, or what we call Ethereum accounts in Talisman. We inject them via the Web3 object, and you can sign and broadcast transactions on EVM-based apps on Parachains. And so you can even add custom network support if you would like to leverage Polygon, Gnosis Chain, Ethereum mainnet, and you would like to uninstall MetaMask entirely. But whatever floats your boat. Portfolio management. This is something that is incredibly important for a multi-chain world. If I'm using applications which are essentially on different networks, I'm going to accrue assets in many, many places. And portfolio management, an easy solution to keep track of that complexity, is super important. So this is our new portfolio management 2.0. I'm really excited about this. If you use Talisman now, you can see all of your assets, across every chain already. But this is a huge improvement from what we have. If you do use Talisman, you would know. And so you can see that you can toggle your accounts in the top left. I'm viewing all of my accounts, and I can see that I have Kusama. I can see the available amount, what is locked. I can see that I have it on 3 different parachains, on the Relay chain, on Karura, on Moonriver. I can get a specific look at a particular network. If I want to go and open a vault on a Kala, I can see what collateral assets I have there and what I can immediately leverage. And if I want to look at a particular asset as well and get a breakdown of it, I can see that as well. I can see how many assets are available, how many are being staked, how many are on what chains, etc., even if I've contributed some to a crowd loan. So this is coming soon. This will come out next month. This is our Portfolio Management 2.0. And I'm really, really proud of this, because this is something which is an incredibly simple interface which will allow you to leverage dozens, maybe even up to 100 parachains. Light clients. I don't know if any of you saw Pierre's talk on day 1, but it was the first talk after Bjorn Wagner's keynote. But so if you don't know, light clients are a way for users of wallets to no longer have to depend on an intermediary to broadcast their transactions and to connect to the network and get state. So by implementing light clients in Talisman, we are essentially making Talisman more secure, more decentralized, and taking steps towards building a non-custodial wallet which is completely unstoppable. A little bit later today, my colleague Jonathan is going to be giving a demo of Talisman Light Clients here on the main stage, I think at about 4 p.m., but you can check the schedule there. Transaction experience. So this is something which I think is largely unexplored and really important for us to work on. Transaction experience is mostly not understood by non-technical users. It's very hard to verify what you are doing. And this is the transaction experience on Talisman now. On the left-hand side, we present you with a pretty simple and convenient interface to approve transactions. But if you would like to click more details, you can, and you can see a breakdown of the transaction fees, the palette that you're interacting with, the function that you're calling specifically, as well as some sort of a description that has been written by the developers about what that function does. And so this is information you can trust about what you are doing. This is not something that the DApp is telling you. This is not just showing you a JSON blob that you just have to interpret. But this is still pretty technical. And but thanks to the power of Substrate, I think we can make this a lot better. I think we can have human-readable mappings for a lot of these functions and these palettes. And I think we can create ultimately a transaction experience in the Paraverse which is user-friendly and clear and articulate without sacrificing verifiability and without you having to trust the DApp. There's a lot of things we're working on, a lot of things coming down the pipe, including relay chain staking, transaction history. We want to have better NFT support and bridging and even multi-language support. But yeah, I'm really, really proud of our team and what we've accomplished so far. Talisman is barely a year old, and we've already come so far. There's a lot more to do. If you find these problems interesting or intriguing, we'd love to chat with you. We're always hiring great people. And and you can download Talisman at talisman.xyz, and I'll see you in the Paraverse.
All right, we got 2 questions. Would you agree that the ultimate goal to enable mainstream Web3 adoption is for wallets to become invisible? If so, how would you build a brand on top of that?
I think, yeah, that's a really good question. We've thought a lot about whether the wallet gets smaller or whether it gets bigger. And I think that Talisman in the next over the next decade will be a useful bootstrapping tool for the Polkadot ecosystem and for this multi-chain world. But I think ultimately, a wallet may become simply a signing device in the future, and we might see that applications, do everything, including the transaction experience. The answer is I don't know how we would build on top of that, but I don't think that's the problem that we need to respond to quite yet.
Perfect. And can I store my NFTs in my Talisman wallet?
Yeah, absolutely you can. So we have NFT support on our web application at the moment. So if you connect Talisman or Polkadot.js to our web app at app.talisman.xyz, you can see your Remark NFTs. And we're going to be working on, similar to our portfolio management 2.0, we need to build a really powerful abstraction for multi-chain NFT management. And so that's something that we're going to be working on. But you certainly can store your NFTs in Talisman now.
And then does Talisman allow integrating other chains to its wallet outside of the Polkadot ecosystem?
Yeah, so we support every chain in the Polkadot ecosystem, and now that we have EVM support, we implicitly support any EVM chain, really. So you can add Ethereum mainnet, Polygon, Gnosis chain, etc.
Perfect. Those are all the questions. Thank you so
Emily.
much.